Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here tonight. It is Tuesday, August 7th, and first we'd like to introduce you to your City Council with a roll call.
Council members Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers. Present. Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jamison.
Here.
Thank you. All 8 councilors are here for your city's business. We appreciate that. We also appreciate the opportunity to have Pastor Blaze Johnson from Celebrate Community Church here tonight. For you folks that don't know, Celebrate has almost 4,500 people that attend their services each week. So what a blessing for our city. Pastor Blaze, welcome tonight. We're going to have Pastor Blaze give us our invocation. We'd ask you to stand, and then after he is done, we'd ask you to remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Johnson, again, welcome.
Let us pray. Father, Lord, thank you for this wonderful weather. Thank you for what you are doing in the community of Sioux Falls. It is being confirmed quite often that your work is being done here. I ask you to continue to use Sioux Falls to do your work. And thank you for using the members of the council and members of the community to shape what you would have us be. Guide the members of the council as they discuss issues that will be pivotal to your work in the community. Guide their hearts and their minds as they hear the opinions of others. Please allow them to consider your will in the decisions they make. Thank you for your protection in the city of Sioux Falls. Thank you for making us a safe community to raise a family in. Thank you for being a sovereign God who loves us. Thank you for using all of Sioux Falls to accomplish your will. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice, thank you. Thank you, very blessed. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
Well, again, good evening and welcome. Is Mark Williamson here? Please, Mr. Williamson, come forward, please. Thank you for being here tonight. I do have a proclamation that I'd like to read to everyone in the audience, of course, to the people of Sioux Falls. And Mark, thanks for being here. We appreciate that. Whereas each year on August 7th, Americans should pause to remember and honor the brave men and women who were either wounded on the battlefield or paid the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. The Purple Heart is awarded to any member of the U.S. Armed Forces who has been wounded or died as a result of a wound in battle. Whereas the medal now known as the Purple Heart actually began as the Badge of Military Merit. On August 7th, 1782, in Newburgh, New York, General George Washington ordered the creation of a badge of distinction for enlisted men and non-commissioned officers. Whereas the Badge of Military Merit was redesigned and became known as the Purple Heart. This new design was issued on the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. And General Douglas MacArthur was the very first recipient of the Purple Heart. Whereas during the early period of American involvement in World War II, the Purple Heart was awarded both for wounds received in action against the enemy and for meritorious performance of duty. With the establishment of the Legion of Merit by an act of Congress, the practice of awarding the Purple Heart for meritorious service was discontinued by Executive Order 9277, dated December 3rd, 1942. This executive order authorized the award only for wounds received. Whereas, on this day in Sioux Falls, it is our patriotic duty to remember and recognize those people, those men and women, willing to serve our country, no matter the price. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim August 7th, 2012 as Purple Heart Day in Sioux Falls. Mark, again, thank you for being here. You bet. If you wouldn't mind, and again, thank you for that. Mark, would you mind just relaying to the people of Sioux Falls what you just told me?
This afternoon, in ceremonies held at the Valley Springs Rest Area and the Spearfish Rest Area, based upon a decision by the State's Department of Transportation, Interstate 90 has now been designated as Purple Heart Memorial Highway. And there is signage on each end of the state to indicate to people traveling across the state that the state of South Dakota, respects their military personnel, and that we're very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We'll now move on to tonight's consent agenda. Council, any changes or motions on tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any questions or comments? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 8-0. Now move on to tonight's regular agenda. Council, any changes or motions?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Karski has made a motion to approve tonight's regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there are no comments, roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Thank you. Again, folks, welcome to tonight's meeting. We appreciate you being here, and the council certainly does. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council. If anybody would like to come forward, please do so. Just state your name. And if you could limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, we'd appreciate it. If there's an item later on in the agenda that you'd like to speak to, we'd ask you to just hold your comments until that time. Teresa, welcome.
I don't think that's how they handle the first reading, though. I think you can't address the council to the second reading. Yes. So I will be addressing a first reading issue, but
Okay.
I already conferred with the council about that.
Very good.
Well, my name's Teresa Staley, and I know it's been a long day for you. You've been working hard on other meetings. And the first thing I want to say to you as a group is that I want to tell you how much I appreciate the responsive, caring attitude that I have seen emerging from this group through the years. I know it's not easy to sit in your place, and I know that from time to time you have to take harsh comments, especially from this public input time. I know you have phone calls that are difficult, you have one-on-ones with people that are difficult. I myself have had conversations with each one of you on the phone and in person, and even though those conversations have at times been difficult, I have to tell you that I have always been listened to, I have always been responded to, and I have always been treated with respect. I have deep appreciation for that. And in fact, some of you have even changed your stance and tried to work to remedy a situation through our discussions, and I consider that to be maturity in being a public servant. It's wonderful customer service, so I want to commend you on that. And I think we need to continue to work on that kind of an attitude in all of our governmental agencies in Sioux Falls. We need to continue to foster that in our city council with the mayor and the mayor's staff, and I see a wonderful culture of customer service developing. We need to cultivate that in our county. Right now we have an opt-out pending. I think a lot of people are upset because they didn't know about it, and that's where the media comes in, because we need to continue to work to connect to the people and inform them about what's going on. And we need to work within the school district, with the school board and the superintendent's office, to keep that connected to the people as well. Because each one of these entities, the city, the county, and the school, are dealing with huge amounts of our tax dollars, as you know. And we put our trust upon you as our elected representatives in handling that. And right now, in my opinion, this group of people you are a shining example of what being a public servant is all about, so bravo. I understand that the issue at hand tonight is going to be texting and driving. I just finished a summer of teaching driver's ed, and I worked with quite a few young people, teaching them how to drive. And I can tell you that when I tell these students that something is illegal and that there will be a fine if they break the law, it sinks in. And things like wearing a seatbelt, coming to a full stop, speeding, failure to yield, all those things have that ramification at the end of being given a ticket. And in Sioux Falls, it's a pretty steep ticket. In fact, if you park on the line on Phillips Avenue, you will get a ticket. Texting is not illegal. And I can tell these kids, and I did, I said, do not text. I also told them, do not talk on the cell phone while you're driving. But I cannot tell them that it is illegal. It's only going to be illegal if they have an accident. So I, as a driver's ed instructor, think it would be very beneficial if it was illegal. And if this does pass in Sioux Falls, and I would hope, and I know there are people who don't agree with me, but in my heart of hearts, I think it should not be legal, and I think we need to be able to send that message loud and strong throughout our state. But if it does pass, then I would ask that the school board, I would encourage them to put this out to the schools, to all the high schools, and to tell them it is now illegal. They need to educate these kids so that they would understand, do not do this. So again, I thank you for your caring, open, responsive attitude towards the citizens, and let's keep working together to make this a great city. And one more thing, I deeply appreciate that you start every meeting with a prayer. I'm a Christian, I believe in the power of God, and this is a fantastic thing that we still do this as a community. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there anybody else who wanted to engage the council? Please come forward. Mr. Weiderman, if you can come forward as well, sir, that'd be great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Lois Brown. I live at 600 North Bonson here in Sioux Falls over by Washington High. This summer I also was a driver's education instructor working out of Harrisburg, and I helped 41 students to become hopefully safe drivers. And as I tell each one of them when I'm done, this is just a start. But the texting issue, one of our guest speakers at Harrisburg was a young man in probably 23 to 26 years old, and he picked up his cell phone to answer a message and ended up rear-ending a vehicle, which killed the motorcyclist in front of that vehicle, and the motorcyclist was a neighbor. This young boy knew the family. They had been, they were neighbors, and his sister babysat for them. So a very, very sad, harsh thing. He, as part of his serving his sentence, was asked to give public meetings, public presentations about what happened to him. And he was told that he had to give 25 of these. We were his 31st. He doesn't plan on stopping. It's that important. To have somebody like that come and give a presentation to your class really sets these kids up, really helps them. And some of the videos that we saw were very, very real. I remember one of the comments a young boy made, "I don't even know if I want to drive anymore." He was that taken aback. So this texting issue, you have my full support, and I will work in any way I can to help. When my students entered my vehicle, I said, cell phones go in the trunk. I have a bag back there. that's where they go. I would have a cell phone just in case of an emergency, but rarely did we ever use it. So please, my support to you. And thank you also for being open, as Teresa said, being open to having guests come and speak to you, because after all, you do serve all the citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Weiderman, welcome.
Sounds like you're in a hurry for me to get up here, Mayor.
No. Always interested in what you have to say, Mr.
Sorry.
Weiderman.
I'm I.L. Weideman. I'm a resident of Sioux Falls. I want to thank Teresa for bringing up the prayer part of it, because we were at a school board meeting together, and they do not start their meetings with prayer. Why, I don't understand. I've never understood that. However, now I've lost my whole concentration, but I am for this non-texting. I am 100% with you people on the texting. The other thing, there's a couple people on this council, and you also, Mayor, that I do not feel, and the way I understand it, you should not be allowed to vote on this event center. We're trying to get that pinned down to further what the legality is of it. I would like to see this meeting that you've been pushed down your throat for the 21st postponed for at least 2 weeks while the legality of you, Mayor, and another member of the council are deemed whether it's legal for you to vote on it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiderman. Appreciate that. Mr. Stenga, welcome. And if there's anybody who would like to speak after Mr. Stenga, please just come forward. We'd appreciate it. Mr. Stenga, welcome.
How you doing?
Good.
I wasn't going to come tonight, but boy, I tell you, the 4 o'clock meeting was exciting. Learned a lot. But I guess, you know, I'm glad that Sanford did come with it. You know, he can spend his money any way he wants. I think he spent it, you know, towards the citizens of Sioux Falls. But I guess one thing that I brought out of the meeting was it's an event center complex that was never ever talked about in any meetings. It was never talked about on the media or nothing. So I guess that's one question I'd like to ask the City Council. I know Kenny brought it up, and I always thought that we were going to sell all naming rights to all buildings versus just one complex. The other thing is the texting. One thing that I know, I went up to Pier. I went up to Pier for 8 years. Spent some time up there talking to a lot of representatives and that. And I realized that South Dakota has 2 states. We have West River and East River. We both think different. The texting and driving is the time that we have to come together as one state. And I think that if we're going to bring this up for a second reading, I think that we have to call representatives from all parts of the state to be here for the second reading, to be able to let them know that how we sit on texting and driving, and to be able to make it statewide and not just city, because this is a state issue, not a city issue. And another thing that was brought up at the 4 o'clock meeting was an outside skating rink. I've always pushed for an outside skating rink, but I always thought that the best place to put it would be down at the falls, because that's where we have most of our lights and most of the people drive through. But I understand it's going to be a totally different rink than I always thought it was, because when I was young, we stayed outside until our feet were so cold that we couldn't walk. Our fingers were so cold we couldn't even take our gloves off. But the way they're going to build this one, it's like you can wear shorts and skate at the same time. But I guess the thing is the citizens of Sioux Falls have to realize that it's a $51,000, and I guess maybe I might be wrong, but for operating costs on this ice skating rink. You know, I'm not opposed to an ice skating rink, but I'll tell you, for $51,000 a year to be able to have a facility you got to take care of, that's something you got to think about. Another thing is we're talking about an indoor tennis and an indoor ice skating rink. I guess my question is, we have cheerleading groups out there that built their own facilities. They have that facility running about 16 hours a day. They have everybody that wants to do tumbling, cheerleading, whatever you want to do, they're able to go into that facility and they're able to pay to be able to use that facility. Now, coming in with a partnership with these people, that tells the citizens of Sioux Falls that we're going to be liable. If these two entities cannot make it, that the citizens are going to be taking care of these buildings, not only the buildings, but the operating costs. And I'm opposed to that. Because if you want a facility, go out and get somebody to sponsor, or go out and get $1 million loan like these cheerleading groups did, and go out and get your facility going. You can rent your rink time to anybody you want. You can rent your tennis courts to anybody you want. And if it's going to work, it's going to work. If it's not, it's not. But I don't believe that the citizens of Sioux Falls should be attached to anything like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Stinga. Folks, anybody else want to talk to the council tonight? Well, again, thank you for your comments. We certainly appreciate you being here. We'll now move on to item number 22.
Item number 22 is an appeal of a conditional use permit in the RD Residential District to allow a daycare center at 6900 South Whiskey Avenue. Legal description, Lot 7, Block 21, Platinum Valley Edition, Lincoln County. The Planning Commission recommends approval. The petitioner is requesting withdrawal of this item.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. Quickly, this was a proposal for a daycare playground area that went through the Planning Commission with a recommendation for approval. The surrounding neighbors submitted an appeal, and subsequently the applicant for the daycare has now chosen to withdraw their conditional use, and they're going to look for other locations.
Thank you, Mike. Council, any comments? Do we have to do anything?
Question?
We do.
I would move withdrawal of item 22.
Councilor Ruppenbach has moved withdrawal of item 22.
Second, Entenmann.
Seconded by Councilor Entenmann. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 23.
Mayor, I will have to excuse myself.
Councilor Anderson Jr. is going to recuse himself on this item. Item 23.
Item 23 is deferred action special one-day liquor license for the Sioux Falls Men's Slow Pitch Softball Association to be operated at Harmadon Park East, 5721 East 41st Street, for a national men's slow pitch softball tournament on September 1 to 2, 2012.
Thank you.
Hi, Jamie Palmer, licensing specialist. I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions at all? Any motions?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve item 23, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson? Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 24.
Item 24 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city to update the industrial pretreatment programs, definition, standards, and wastewater local limits.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Welcome.
Bob Capel with the Public Works Environmental Division. With me tonight is Jesse Nyans, an environmental analyst who manages our industrial pretreatment program. As you recall, back on April 16th at the informational meeting, I gave a lengthy presentation on this local limits presentation, and I'm going to basically shorten it tonight for us since it's second reading. We appreciate the opportunity to propose these revisions to Chapter 41 of our ordinances to update our industrial pretreatment program. As you know, the City of Sioux Falls owns and operates a major regional wastewater collection and treatment system. This is an aerial photograph of our wastewater treatment plant located in the northeast part of Sioux Falls. It uses complex physical, chemical, and biological treatment to treat our region's wastewater from Sioux Falls, Brandon, Harrisburg, Prairie Meadows Sanitary District, and Renner Sanitary District. Our publicly owned treatment works collects all domestic and commercial and industrial wastewater from our service area and treats it to a level where it can be safely discharged to the Big Sioux River. In 2011, the treatment facility treated and discharged on average 17.4 million gallons per day. Generally, publicly owned treatment works are designed only to treat domestic wastewater. So the U.S. EPA passed regulations to protect these federally funded wastewater treatment plants from impacts from industrial discharges. In essence, these regulations protect the infrastructure investment that they made. The Industrial Pretreatment Program overview: the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency required the City of Sioux Falls to develop and implement an industrial pretreatment program. This was an unfunded federal mandate on the city. Our industrial pretreatment program is responsible for limiting the character and volume of pollutants being discharged to our treatment system to protect it against pass-through and interference. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency requires our pretreatment program to develop and implement technically based local limits to protect our treatment plant biosolids receiving water from impacts from commercial and industrial dischargers. So what are local limits? It is the amount of pollutants that our publicly owned treatment works can accept and prevent pass-through, interference, adverse health effects, harm to our treatment facility or the environment. The primary goals of our pretreatment program are to protect our POTW workers and public, to prevent wastewater discharges that could harm our POTW, to prevent interference of our biological treatment system processes at our POTW, to prevent pass-through of pollutants to the environment, and to continue beneficial use of domestic wastewater residuals. This next slide is the most important slide on the presentation. It basically compares the current and the proposed local limits that we are bringing forward to you. The first column is the pollutants that we have determined that we need to develop local limits on. The second column shows the existing daily local limits. The third column is the proposed local limits, and the fourth column is the units of measure for these pollutants. Again, I'd like to draw your attention to the third column. That is the proposed local limits that you'll be acting on. As you can see, there's limits that are in red, black, and green. The red text basically means that we are proposing lower, more restrictive limits on our industrial community. The black text basically means we are proposing higher, less restrictive limits on our industrial community, while the green text basically indicates these are new limits being placed in ordinance at this time. Based upon our current industry operations, pretreatment systems, historical data, and our industrial surveys, we do not anticipate any significant impacts to our industrial community with these new proposed local limit changes. Again, this is a summary that shows the major milestones in this 4-year process to develop these local limits. Again, I would like to compliment our Public Works team for performing all the work necessary to develop these local limits, while many other cities need to hire consultants to complete this type of a task. In your packets, you have a copy of the proposed revisions to the ordinance in a tract format, and we would appreciate your consideration and support of these proposed ordinance revisions. And I'm available for any questions at this time.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Before we go to the council, this is a second reading, folks. Is there anybody who wanted to speak to the council? Very good. Council? Yes, Councilor Stegers.
Yes, Bob, just to clarify a little bit, these limits that we have, are the limits imposed upon the business before the material gets to our plant, or do we have to make sure that the limits come out of the plant?
No, these limits are at the end of the pipe where their sewer system connects to the city's publicly owned treatment works. Okay. They have to comply with these limits.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Councilor Inman.
Bob, I asked you this once before, but you don't anticipate this being cost prohibitive for any of our existing businesses in this town?
That is correct. Based on your original comment from informational, we put out a survey to our permitted industries, and none of them felt that this would have a negative financial impact on their industries.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Council, any motions or?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item number 24. It was seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there are no further questions, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 25.
Item number 25 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 12.5, Conflicts of Interest of Officers, Employees, and Ethics Boards.
Welcome, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Fifley with the City Attorney's Office. I will keep my comments very brief. After the first reading, I went home and my wife was laughing at me hysterically. And I wondered why. Not that I hadn't done anything more stupid than I normally do, but she was laughing at me because the Boy Scouts that were sitting behind me were fidgeting the entire time and teasing me about maybe not being the most riveting speaker. So I'll be very brief tonight. We've had a first reading. You have a memo on the SIRE in terms of this entire revision process with the Board of Ethics ordinances. I want to thank all of you for your input, suggestions. I think we've incorporated all those into a very workable final piece, except for 2 items. After reviewing it more, thinking about it a little more, it seemed that the better approach on the advisory opinions was to leave those 2 sections in for both employees and also elected officials, but yet take out the provision, the sentence, I think it's section 29, that talks about that a council member can elect to have it confidential or not. With the Open Meetings Commission ruling in March, we now have to have votes by the Board of Ethics that name the individuals. So anytime that any of you folks would request an opinion, we'd have to state, for instance, not to pick on anyone, Councilor Rolfing, we'd have to name you in the motion with the Board of Ethics. So it's really not confidential anymore. But on second thought, we don't want to discourage the process from continuing. We want to encourage you folks, as well as the 1,135 city employees, to request advisory opinions so they can comport their conduct with the ethics ordinances. So I'd respectfully recommend that we do a motion deleting the last sentence of that section 29. And then there's one other question that still remains out there in terms of the purpose of combining this, the function of the Board of Ethics with the fraud hotline was to have elected official fraud hotline complaints going to the Board of Ethics, so you'd have an independent board rather than, say, the HR director, city attorney, the audit committee chair, and internal audit being involved in those particular complaints. The issue is still out there on whether you want to make it an anonymous complaint or not. From a practical standpoint, if you leave it anonymous, who's going to be there to present evidence or to help the board? And in all likelihood, those complaints, if they are someone who elects to stay anonymous, chances are it's probably not going to go anywhere unless the Board of Ethics, through their own investigation, can come up with some facts. But that's an issue for you folks to decide. I've left it open. I've heard from a couple of you that feel that, sort of like the confrontation clause, you should be able to meet your accuser and we should know who the individual is that's making the complaint. But again, I leave it up to you. So with that, I'm open for any questions.
David, thank you. Folks, again, a second reading. Would anybody like to talk to this item? Very good. Councilor Erpenbach.
Question then for Attorney Fifley. Tell us, would you remind us how it's worded now in terms of the anonymous phone call fraud hotline?
Right now, Councilor Erpenbach, it allows for an anonymous complaint to be referred by the Fraud Control Committee, and that would be, right now it would be Councilor Jameson, who's the Audit Chair Committee. Rich Oaksall, Bill O'Toole, and myself comprise that committee. We would take a fraud complaint hotline about one of the 9 elected officials, refer it to the Board of Ethics. anonymously. That's how it would work. If you pass, if you pass this as it's worded.
As it is.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
David, have you come up with any alternative language for changing that?
I would just delete 2 different areas, Councilor Anderson, of the proposal that accept anonymous complaints. Otherwise, they all have to be assigned and notarized complaints and filed for the Ethics Board to hear it. It would be a very simple change in about 3 sentences out of this. And again, I leave it up to you folks and your policy-making prowess on how you want to determine how to handle this.
In our work through Public Services, working with you on this, what changes would we do for frivolous complaints?
From the way the ordinance is in place now versus the proposal, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happens is in looking at the 41 different state legislatures that have adopted ethics ordinances, or excuse me, statutes, ethics statutes, and have ethics commissions, a vast majority of them allow the Ethics Commission to dismiss a frivolous complaint. And what this proposal does, it has several criteria for the Board of Ethics to dismiss a complaint if they deem it to be frivolous. And frivolous, again, is lacking a basis in fact or law to proceed. And frankly, I didn't reinvent the wheel. It's from the state of Texas. It's patterned quite a bit on their state statute on that very issue.
Council, maybe to get us started, would anybody want to make a motion to adopt item number 25?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to adopt item number 25, second by Councilor Aguilar. Now open for any discussion. Councilor Erpenbach.
Public input, Mr. Mayor.
We had the public input first.
You did already?
Yes.
Did you already ask for it?
I'm just trying to read lips.
Sorry, Mayor, I couldn't remember if you had asked for public input on it. I'm sorry.
Right after you got done speaking, David.
I'm really transparent. I just
That's
am
okay.
like reading his lips, doing it. My question, if I might, then,
Please.
Mr. Mayor, seriously, I have thought over and over again about this anonymous complaints thing, and I apologize. I should have done something about it sooner, but I would like to make that amendment as advised by you, and I'm struggling to quickly read through that, the proposed, or through the ordinance.
I will, if I may, Councilor
If you
Erpenbach,
would,
without
please.
putting words in your mouth, what you would need to do is on section -9, subpart C, where it says subparagraph C, where it says, after it talks about is unsigned or is unverified by an oath of affirmation, cut out the words, unless it is a referral from the Fraud Coordination Committee regarding a city official under Article 3. So that would be one sentence to delete. The other sentence would be section 12.5-35. Part A, about the middle of that paragraph, it says anonymous complaints shall not be considered, the added language, unless it is a referral regarding a city official from the Fraud Coordination Committee. So those would be the 2 clauses that you need to delete to make it a requirement that it has to be signed and notarized by the complaining party.
Okay, thank you. Those are the 2 parts only then, right?
That's what I have tabbed, and I believe that's all. Yes, Councilor.
Okay. Then, Mr. Mayor, if I might, I would like to make, first of all, the first amendment that I would like to make is to delete the sentence, the city council member seeking an advisory opinion shall be the sole determiner in the election of whether the opinion is confidential or public in section 12.5-29.
Good.
That would be my first amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Aguilar.
There's been a motion to amend this item, number 25, And is there any discussion on this item? It was made by Councilor Bach, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, by the way. Any discussion on this item?
That amendment was to delete that?
That is correct.
Delete the sentence, "The city council member seeking an advisory opinion shall be the sole determiner in the election of whether the opinion is confidential or public." And this is in section 12, 1.5-29.
Then if I might, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Bach.
This just brings our city ordinance into line with the state open meetings law.
Right.
It's a change that we had to make.
Very good. A roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
The amendment is passed 8-0. We now have an amended main motion. Any other amendments, Councilor Erpenbach?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I would like to amend Section 9, or Section 12.5-9, complaints, subsection C. I want to remove the sentence. I'm still trying to find it. Oh, help me, Mr. Fifley.
David, would you
Middle
mind?
of the way where, after the words oath of affirmation, delete unless it is a referral from the Fraud Coordination Committee regarding a city official under Article 3, period.
Are you comfortable with that, Councilor
What he
Bach?
said, yes.
Yep, very
And
good.
then one more piece, if I might. I'd
Right.
like to make both of these at the same time. This is Section 12.5-35, and this one I actually have. And it's subsection A, again, 12.5-35, subsection A. Deleting the sentence about midway into that paragraph, anonymous complaints shall not be considered unless it is a referral regarding a city official from the Fraud Coordination Committee.
Very good.
Second, Aguilar.
We have a motion to amend the amended main motion by Councilor Bach, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Yes, Councilor Staggers?
Yes, I was just wondering, should we have a sentence simply saying to make sure there will be no anonymous complaints, period, to make sure there's no way to interpret another part of the ordinance or not?
David, any advice?
Mayor, Councilor Staggers, I would point you to Part A of 12.5-35. It says anonymous complaints shall not be considered.
Oh, okay.
Then there'd be a period after that.
Oh,
So
okay, fine.
I think it's pretty
Okay.
clear that, yeah, no anonymous complaints
Great,
would
thank you.
then be. Thank you.
Well, very good. If we could have a roll call vote on the amendments to the amended main motion.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson? Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
The amendments have passed 8-0. Any other discussion? Councilor Erpenbach?
If I could just make one clarification, because Mr. Fifley said that correctly and I read it incorrectly. The actual sentence that I deleted out of 12.5-35, the words anonymous complaints shall not be considered, those do stay in, and when I stated the amendment, I said those words were coming out, and that was incorrect, but the attorney had corrected that for us, so I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, we now have an amended main motion. If there is no further discussion, we'd like to vote to adopt the motion as amended. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 26.
Item 26 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, repealing subsection 4 of Chapter 15.59.306 of Appendix B of the zoning ordinance of said city. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Again, Mike Cooper along with Jeff Schmidt, and we're presenting the items tonight from the July City Planning Commission meeting. This is a request to amend our zoning ordinance that would eliminate a provision under the on-sale alcoholic beverage establishment provision as a conditional use permit. It currently reads, video lottery machine placement shall not be within 2,000 feet of a city park, other video lottery machine placement, or any elementary or secondary school within the city. That has been ruled by the South Dakota Supreme Court that we are not allowed to, we don't have the authority to enforce that, so we're requesting this to be removed from the zoning ordinance.
Michael, thank you. Folks, again, a second reading. Anybody interested in speaking to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. Any discussion?
Long time coming. This is a long time coming.
Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you. Councilor Urbanbach?
You know, I just really struggle with it, though. It has been one way that we have been able to put some limits on this disease that South Dakota has contracted. I mean, I struggle. I really do.
Councilor Rolfing?
I know Councilman Jameson was saying we have no say in the bid or in the naming rights thing. Here's one that's even worse. We don't have any good outcome on this one. We have no way to zone or do anything with gambling in this state, and it's a horrible disease, and it's something that we've become addicted to as a government and as some of the people, and so they've taken another one away from us that we could do, and somehow we've got to find a way to get this back, folks. Just like the alcohol problem, and so I urge us to try and find a way to do that.
Yes, Councilor Jameson.
I'm not sure what I followed Councilor Andrews' enthusiasm that this is a long time coming. I'm not sure what he really meant. Not that I really need to. This really isn't our decision. But, you know, and as well, Councilor Rolfing, just to be crystal clear, I am actually impressed with our agreement. And we absolutely do have the power to accept that or not. And I notice that we do. Just be clear, I do know that. This is different, and that when it comes down to local control, we are under control by the state legislature in a lot of ways that we probably don't appreciate. But I know from others who worked on this from years ago and what their intent was. And it's unfortunate that the intent wasn't adhered to. And I don't know what we can do in the future to correct it, but we are going to find ourselves with undue concentration in places that we wish we could change. Let's just not forget about it. Let's keep the vigilance of keeping that pressure out so that it doesn't just erode our community.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
To reply back to Councilman Jameson, no enthusiasm here at all. This is something that for about 4 years now, we have done nothing but fight with the state over this. And there was a final decision that we've dragged our feet on, finally bringing this up front and getting in line with state law. That's what I meant on that. I hope that we can work with the municipal league and find some way to be able to get some types of controls under our belts, but I don't see it happening. It's the same thing with the underage beer sales. It's another thing that we have to struggle with. But in this case here, we fought it in court. We were told we were wrong, and it's finally time that we make this correct. And if we can find a different way to do this, I'll support that. But this was wrong.
If I could just ask, Councilor Urbanbach, have you determined, or has the council determined, or Ms. Cooper, if these folks were to vote no on this tonight? I don't know if they would or not, but if they were to vote no, what would happen? Just so that we don't have any issues in case that were to happen.
Mayor,
Ms.
I think
Pfeiffer,
that, yeah.
would you mind?
Mayor, as has been alluded to, this is the Law versus City of Sioux Falls Supreme Court decision that came down a few months ago. The state Supreme Court said that the state statutes have preempted completely this area of the law and that the city is prohibited from regulating in this area. If you leave something that is essentially unlawful on your books, you can leave it there, but you can't enforce it. And as we have come forth with other proposals lately, including, say, the 6 months in jail provision on the emergency ban of the Sioux River, certainly our office would encourage you to take out anything that's illegal out of your ordinances.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Well, very good. Good conversation. Appreciate it. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 27.
Item 27 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at South Southeastern Avenue and East Stony Brook Trail from the RS2 Residential District to the RC Recreation Conservation District, petition number 2012-0520, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition by Scott Gilbert representing the Whispering Woods South subdivision development. He is proposing to change about a 2-acre drainage channel from residential to recreation conservation, which is the typical zoning that we would use for this type of land use.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody interested in talking to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second Aguilar.
Councilor Entenmann has made a motion to approve item 27, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 28.
Item 28 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 105 South Blauvelt Avenue from the C2 General Commercial District to the RD Residential District, petition number 2012-0521, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is an existing residence owned by Robin Aus, and it's located north of East 10th Street and on the west side of Blauvelt. This area was zoned commercial many years ago with the anticipation that it might become a commercial corridor. The property owner desires to continue to use this as a residential use, and so as a residential property, and so they want to change the zoning from C2 commercial to RD residential.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone in the audience want to speak to this item? Very good. Council?
Move to approve.
Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 29.
Item 29 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 5204 and 5208 South Loop Place from the C4 Planned Commercial District to the I-1 Light Industrial District, petition number 2012-0605, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Biersbach Equipment and Supply. They're looking at this site to construct a second east side location for their operation. The property is about 5.5 acres in size. It is located on the south side of East 57th Street and west of Highway 11. They are looking at developing a 30,000 square foot building, 2 stories with display and sales. And again, this zoning is the proper designation for that particular land use.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody interested in speaking to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Councilor Rolfing.
Mike, how far west of Highway? Okay, that does it much better for me.
Yeah, it's right on the west side.
Okay, and with Highway 11 coming through, or Highway 100,
This will
someday,
provide
well,
for
that'll
that.
be coming through pretty quick.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you much. That's what I needed.
Council, great job. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
Item 30 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 2003 North Wayland Avenue from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the RS2 Residential District, petition number 2012-0607, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is an existing residential property owned by Phyllis Rogers. It is located up along the east side of North Cliff Avenue, just on the south side of the Big Sioux River. This is an area that has, over the years, changed in use a number of times in terms of industrial, commercial development. But this is a similar case where the property owner now would like to maintain this as a residential use, and so they've asked to change that particular lot from industrial to residential.
Folks, anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item 30, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Item 31.
Item 31 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 69th Street and South Louise Avenue from the AG Agricultural District to the Avera Planned Development District, petition number 2012-0610, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Avera McKinnon. The site is just over 81 acres in size. It is located on the east side of Louise Avenue and just south of West 69th Street. The petitioner is proposing to develop this in the future as a corporate healthcare campus. And with this zoning designation, they're dividing the site up into 3 geographical areas or sub-areas, as we would call them within our zoning ordinance. Sub-area A, which is shown on the exhibit, would be designated as an institutional medical area for hospital patient care, medical clinic, short-term housing, and campus parking. So these particular areas designated as sub-area A would be required for acute care, clinical, inpatient and outpatient services, as well as students, employees, and visitors. Sub-area B is designated as a medical office park, which would include medical clinic, medical office park, short-term housing, and campus parking. And this would include facilities for office, clinic, outpatient care, and other types of complementary commercial uses. The third component, sub-area C, is designated as a recreation conservation area, and this is intended to provide a buffer open space area adjacent to the residential development to the south and east. And so that's the 3 major pieces of this specific zoning district that's being recommended for approval tonight.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone in the audience want to speak to this particular item? Very, very good. Council.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve item 31, seconded by Councilor Karski. Any comments? Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, what do we have for neighborhood comments?
Yeah, they held a neighborhood meeting, plus at the Planning Commission, we obviously had the public hearing. And I think with what they've done with that sub-area C, the buffer area, the open space, we've not heard any negative comments from the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Council, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 32.
Item 32 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment petition number 2012-0523 to Chapter 15.45.070, Planned Development Districts at East 6th Street and North Powder House Road, South Dakota Highway 100, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised sub-area regulations and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by Fossfields Development Company, the owner of this area, which consists of about 39 acres in size. It is located just directly north of the east side Menards. When this was originally zoned, there was discussion about how Highline Avenue, 6th Street would intersect and then eventually extend out to Powderhouse Road. Now with more discussions with the city staff, including traffic engineering, we believe that a better plan is to extend Highline Avenue directly north to 6th Street, and then 6th Street would extend directly east to Powderhouse Road. And you'll see that later on tonight as item 41, which is the revised preliminary subdivision plan. So by changing the alignment of these streets, it also modifies the land uses, and this would actually allow more commercial development to be proposed on the south side and east side of Highline and 6th Street. So we believe this is a better plan for the intended development of this particular area, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody interested in speaking to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Roll call vote. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Question, though.
Please.
Mike, explain to me again, what are we going to do with 6th Street here? Are we going to run that all the way to Highway 100?
Yes, yes,
So we're going to fix that problem that was created over there?
correct. It'll extend to Potterhouse Road or Highway 100, yes.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That's passed 8-0. Item 33.
Item 33 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at southwest corner of West 2nd Street and North Kiwanis Avenue from the O Office District to the I-1 Light Industrial District, petition number 2012-0603, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition submitted by the owners of Win Electric, which is an electrical supply warehouse located just directly south of this proposed rezoning. This corner lot at 2nd Street and Kiwanis has been vacant for as long as I can remember. And they are asking now for it to be zoned so that they could construct a new warehouse and office building of approximately 12,000 square feet. Because it is on a corner lot, they initially approached the city requesting a driveway off Kiwanis Avenue, but because of the location near the intersection of 2nd Street, it really would not fit our access management standards. So the next alternative was to provide a driveway on 2nd Street for this property. When this was presented to the Planning Commission, we did have some neighborhood input from people on the north side of 2nd Street that I don't think were necessarily opposed to the use, but they had questions about the traffic impacts. And as we discussed before, it's our understanding that the warehouse would typically have one semi-truckload a week that would come in to this area. And also that everybody has agreed that we would work with the other development to the south so that the driveways would actually connect through to the south and to the east. And if we can show that other exhibit up there to clarify that. If you see up there the existing driveway that's on Kiwanis, and then there's another driveway to the south, the property would connect so that we could have mutual access agreements. And we believe that by working with the developers on this, we could reduce the amount of contractor traffic or other traffic that would potentially be using 2nd Street. So that seems to be a good solution to trying to eliminate or reduce the traffic impacts.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Emmons made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
And that has passed 8-0. Item 34.
Item 34 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 226 West 41st Street and 233 and 229 West 40th Street from the RD Residential District to the C2 General Commercial District, petition number 2012-0608, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a proposal to expand the existing Ace Hardware store on 41st Street, just east of Minnesota Avenue. There's 4 residential properties that would be changed to allow expansion of the parking lot. The store would then be added with about a 12,000-foot expansion on the southeast corner. With the proposed development plan, it would also improve the circulation pattern through the current parking area between 40th and 41st Streets. There was a question, I think, at first reading about parking. Based on the information that we have gathered, currently with the size of this store, there would be 86 parking spaces required. They're currently providing 93. With the expansion of the store by 12,000 square feet, they would be required to have 126 total parking spaces, and with this plan, they would be providing 152. So they would be continue to be exceeding our standards for parking. And this would be a net increase of 59 parking spaces from what you have today.
Thank you, Mike.
They also held a neighborhood meeting prior to the Planning Commission meeting, and we did not have any neighborhood input.
Very good. This is a second reading. If there's anybody who would like to come forward, please do so. Welcome, sir. If you could just state your name, we'd appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Tracy Sabo. I would say support this. My personal opinion is let people do what they want to do with their own property. If we just did that, you guys would save a whole lot of time because you wouldn't have to go through these things every single week. And you could save some money for the taxpayers by letting the Planning Commission not have to work so much. So that's just a comment I had after listening to this whole thing all night. I think it's really kind of silly.
Thanks, Tracy. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Counselor?
I guess if we're not getting public input anymore?
No.
Okay. My question, I'm just looking at that overhead view of that, and it looks like that we're leaving one residential lot between the two. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's already zoned.
I'm
commercial.
sorry?
That's already zoned commercial.
That's already,
Yes.
okay. Okay. And that would give them parking lot access then to 40th Street? Is that what you were?
Yes, and 41st Street, both, yep.
Both ways. Okay. Thank you.
Counselor, with that in mind, would you be willing to make a motion to approve this item?
I would.
Thank you, Counselor.
Second Anderson.
Counselor Karski's made a motion to approve item number 34, seconded by Counselor Karski, or Counselor Rolfing. And if there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 35.
Item 35 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 14th, 2012 at 7 o'clock p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota providing supplemental appropriations for CIP number 148014, right-of-way acquisition for public works.
Good evening, Jeff DeLories from the Engineering Division of Public Works. This supplemental appropriation is associated with the Cliff Avenue project currently under construction from Benson Road to 60th Street North. This project is a joint venture between the South Dakota Department of Transportation and the City of Sioux Falls. The city acquired the right-of-way, temporary construction easements, and permanent utility easements with sales tax funds. The city's sales tax funds have been reimbursed by funds from our Surface Transportation Fund, STP account, which is managed by the DOT. This ordinance will supplement the engineering's capital project for the right-of-way acquisition by $486,765.
Council, thank you. Any questions on this item? If not, would anybody like to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 14th at 7 p.m.?
So move Anderson.
Second Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 36.
Item 36 is a first reading, set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 21st, 2012 at 7 o'clock p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Section 2-5 regarding informational meetings and working sessions of the City Council.
Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Lori Hogstead with the City Clerk's Office. This change is a result of some rescheduling that the council meetings that we have done with our council meetings. We passed a number of changes to this particular section administration back in April, and one of those included moving our meetings to Tuesday nights. In addition to that, we had been working with the joint Minnehaha County Commission to set a joint Minnehaha County meeting date, and as a result, we have determined that probably the best way to address our informational meetings will just simply be to say informational meetings may be held each Tuesday of the month, rather than saying the first, second, third, and last, which tends to confuse people. Isn't the fourth one the last? Well, not always. Sometimes it's the fifth. And this way, we have the option to hold our informational meetings every Tuesday, and if we choose not to or we don't have agenda items, we won't need to, but at least we will have that option.
Thank you, Lori.
Yes.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve item 36, to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 21st at 7 p.m., and it was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 37.
Item 37 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 21st, 2012 at 7 o'clock p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 40 to restrict the use of wireless communication devices and amending the establishment of speed zones.
Good evening.
Welcome, Jim.
Jim David with the Office of City Council. I bring to you agenda item number 37, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the history of this process, where do we begin, and how we arrived at our current ordinance. On May 8th of 2012, the Public Services Committee heard testimony from a citizens group led by Rich Lauer requesting that the city ban texting within its boundaries. The Public Services Chairman Kenny Anderson Jr. requested that Councilors Aguilar and Erpenbach work with staff to develop a proposal, but also to do some background research on behalf of Council. Since that time, we have found that over 3,000 people have died in crashes involving distracted drivers. Now, distracted drivers not only includes texting, it can include various other things that a person may be doing while they are driving. But 416,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving a distracted driver. And sending, reading, or a text takes an average of 4.6 seconds. Drivers who use a handheld device are 4 times more likely to get into a crash that injures themselves. And distractions are estimated to be associated with 15 to 25% of crashes at all levels, from minor fender benders to fatal injuries. And this information is from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Governor's Highway Safety Association. Currently, we have 39 states within this country that have texting bans. You'll see some of the other ones actually have more stringent bans. And then we have some of the states, such as Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Missouri, that actually regulate cell phone and texting for younger drivers. We looked at 3 major studies and the effects that those studies had on distracted driving. First one is Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, which was in 2010 and 2011. The next one is for the Governor's Highway Safety Association in 2011. And the next one is UC Berkeley, which was commissioned by the Office of Transportation Safety in California. The first one, for Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, analyzed the collision insurance claims before and after handheld texting bans took effect in 4 states. These included Washington, Louisiana, Minnesota, and California. And it's an important distinction to look at the data that they used is not necessarily the actual crash data, but it is the actual claims that were involved in those crashes. And it does not include the minor crashes or crashes that involved an uninsured driver. This study did find that the no collision claim reduction followed a ban on texting, and it found a similar finding on handheld bans. The next study that we looked at was the Governor's Safety Association study, and this one actually looked at a compilation of various other studies that had happened, including the previous Insurance Institute study. They found that high visibility texting law enforcement campaign reduced violations immediately, but the longer impact is unknown. It also found that no evidence that handheld or texting bans have reduced crashes, and it says that texting likely increases crash risk more than cell phone use. There's important, again, to talk about the data that's here. We're going to talk about these previous 2 studies that actually looked at crash claims. Now, in the United States, there's no study that's had access to cell phone records. So what you had in those previous 2 studies was that they looked at actual crash claims. This next study actually looked at traffic accidents in the state of California. And that was the one that was commissioned by the California Office of Traffic Safety by University of California, Berkeley. It found the impact of the 2008 handheld ban. This is not texting, it's a handheld ban did have an impact, and it actually used the crash data for 2 years before and after the ban took effect. The overall accidents in the state of California since the ban has taken effect is down by 22%, and cell phone use on the road has decreased by 47%. Let me repeat that again. Collisions directly related to cell phone use on the road has decreased by 47%. Now, as you might notice, this actually contradicts the other study that was done by the Insurance Institute. But Office of Traffic Safety reports separately that texting and emailing has dropped from 19.8% in 2010 to 14.1% in 2011. Again, you have 3 different studies, different data that they use. The first 2 studies used crash claims. Now this one actually uses the actual traffic accidents from the state of California. On June 10th, the Public Services Committee approved a proposed ordinance that is before you today. It bans texting in Sioux Falls. This is the first reading, and the second reading would be scheduled for August 21st, if it's your decision, and there'd be public input opportunity at that time. This proposed ordinance prohibits an electric communication device to compose, read, or send an electronic message when the vehicle is in motion or part of traffic. There is no prohibition on cellular phone calls. Emergency personnel are exempted under this ordinance and is considered a primary offense. It is important to note that any city in the state of South Dakota can regulate or can ban texting or ban handheld use within its boundaries simply by its ability to regulate traffic. We also have some cleanup language to the speed zone ordinance that was requested by the City Attorney's Office. This deletes some language that is no longer used. For example, it deletes the sentence, "Signs shall be posted only during the hours when work is actually being performed," and it resolves an error in language concerning speed violations in highway work areas. I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Jim, good summary. Very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Stagers.
Yeah, I'm not sure who can answer the question, but Jim, the evidence you've given tonight is really focused a lot on distracted driving, including a lot on use of cell phones.
Sure.
I guess my question, at least for the Public Services Committee, is from what you've presented, it sounds like if you really want to deal with distracted driving, you'd ban the use of cell phones in Sioux Falls. And why isn't that in the ordinance, proposed ordinance?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Urbanbach?
We did actually, Councilor Stagers, we did talk about that, and I would wholeheartedly, I would second your amendment to make it a whole handheld ban in the city of Sioux Falls, but the committee decided that this was a beginning step toward helping the state of South Dakota understand the importance of this and to get Sioux Falls moving in the right direction.
So this is kind of a beginning maybe to then move on to cell phones if this is successful?
I'd love to. I mean, I would do it now, but I'm not sure that there's support for it.
Oh, okay. Because that seems like that's the evidence just presented. That's the really major, major problem.
You know, if I might, Mr. Mayor, I would say you ban anything that you're holding in your hand in terms of, an iPod, a music player, GPS device, anything that is taking your eyes off the road. Absolutely.
With your permission, Council, I just wanted to let the audience know this is a first reading. So with a first reading, you don't have the opportunity to engage the council. But on the second reading, if they approve the ability to have a second reading on Tuesday, August 21st, then of course you certainly have the opportunity to engage the council as well. So with that in mind, council, additional discussion. Yes, Councilor Entman.
I think technology, from the testimony that we heard from people at the committee, from a lot of our own personal experience, I think we can all attest to the fact that technology is a wonderful thing. However, I really believe that in our society today, our ability to understand what our responsibilities are as a result of our being able to tap into this technology is really lacking. And quite honestly, I doubt very much if we're going to change in the very near future. And I would say that technology was probably even going to exceed our ability to realize what we have as fast as technology is going. According to the UC Berkeley study, I agree with Councilor Stagers. Looking at that study, you would think that what we need to do is ban all handheld communication devices or devices. But I do also say that, while, comments have been made that it's going to be hard to enforce, this is one of those things that I really do believe that it is time that we do address, and I am really in favor of this. And I'd like to thank the committee and Jim for your work on this.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
As chair of the Public Services Committee, when Mr. Lauer called me and asked me to meet with him about distracted driving, I wasn't sure how far this was going. And I struggle daily myself with an electronic device that I carry with me. Every time you hear it ping, you have that urge to want to pick it up and find out who's trying to contact you. But we've had 2 major red flags put in front of us here in the last month. We've lost 2 people from this community, and 2 more people are probably going to jail for a very, very long time for just seconds of distraction. And I feel that it is time for us to make a statement and also be leaders to the state of South Dakota and show them that this can happen in our state and that we need to do something. We need to make a statement and to educate people that this is something that is a problem in this country and our city. And I feel that this is a good step in that direction.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
As a member of the Public Services Committee, I feel that this is a very positive beginning to what we hope the state of South Dakota will then come forward and ban not only texting, but the use of handheld devices. I think that my concern in our discussions as far as whether to have an all-out ban had to do with not only some of the concerns about enforcement, but also the educational component. I think beginning with the texting ban will prove to be very positive. And through the information that we received as a committee, just making it an ordinance will probably bring 85% compliance. And so I think that, again, that this is a very positive start, and we can always go back, and if we don't find that the state of South Dakota is moving forward in the direction that we would want, we can strengthen it and add to it.
Yes, Councilor Jameson.
I've struggled to keep my lips together, but I'm struggling and I can't stop. Nobody will admit that driving and texting is a good idea. It's just a bad idea. You can't even justify the idea of texting and driving. But the comments here, this is a discussion amongst us that the state legislature has sat on their laurels and done nothing is really silly. They are struggling with this decision as much as we are right now. Well, not probably. They're trying to find solutions to enforcement. We know that's a problem. We are not leading. We are leaping off of an edge into an area that we are knowing while doing it that it's not going to change, it's not going to empower the police department to change things that are happening in our community. I just am reluctant to throw out the efforts of a whole lot of others for years who've worked on this very problem of making our roadways safer and concluding that they don't have the courage to do it and that we, by gosh, do. That's just not the case. Those people are working very diligently to find a solution here. I know we're anxious to do this. I'm just wishful that maybe we would really focus on improving safety for our roadways and not just addressing one item that causes a problem on our roadways. I think we really need to address the whole problem of safety on the highway and address it that way. Find solutions that make our roads safer and do those things. This is one item of a bigger picture, and I know it's an emotional item, and you can't win by voting against it. I figured that out. I just want to have a healthy discussion here about really solving a problem. That's all.
Okay.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Thank you. To reply to Councilman Jameson, I guess with my discussions and reading the minutes from the state committee, I'm not saying they're sitting on their laurels. What I'm saying is that our city is being a leader by coming up with some type of distracted driving ordinance. Right now, the state is only looking at juveniles. This is more than a juvenile problem. Every day out there, there's adults doing the same thing. So this is not just a juvenile problem. It needs to be addressed in whole. I agree with you, but it has to start somewhere. And right now, we've had other communities within our state over the past 5 years that have looked at doing this also, and we're told to hold on and let the state take care of it. It still hasn't happened. So I do applaud my fellow Public Services Committee members for at least working with law enforcement, with the city attorney, to come up with something to make our city streets safer. And there are people, if this ordinance does pass, that will abide by that ordinance. And everyone that does abide by it makes our streets safer. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Jr., with that in mind, would you want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 21st at 7 p.m.?
So move.
Second, Karski.
It's been a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Karski to set that date of hearing and second reading. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Item 38.
Item 38 is a resolution deferred from the meeting of July 10th, 2012, a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Annexation 2012-0501, 85th Street and I-29 Lemmy.
This is an annexation petition on behalf of East River Electric, and we did receive a request to defer this a second time to the September 4th City Council meeting, September 4th.
Council, would anybody want to set a motion to defer this item?
So moved, Karski.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Karski's made that motion to defer this item as well, and it has been seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, could you give us a little more explanation of why they want us to defer this again?
They're currently looking at this site as well as other sites in the area, and until they get through their analysis, that will determine whether they proceed ahead with this request or not.
Okay, thank you.
But they are looking for a location for a new electrical substation.
Good job. Council, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson? Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Thank you. This passed 8-0. Item 39.
Item 39 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota to set the joint City Council Lincoln County Commission meetings at 7:00 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday of each month as necessary.
Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Lori Hugstead, City Clerk's Office. Tamara said it all. We're setting a date for our Lincoln County joint meetings, if as needed, as we don't meet every month, and those would be the fourth Thursday at 7 p.m. Or I'm sorry, the fourth Tuesday at 7 p.m. We don't want to move to another date, do we? Let's stick with Tuesdays. All right, any questions on that?
Lori, before we go to the council, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item 39, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. No further discussion on a roll call vote.
Councilmembers Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Item 40.
Item 40 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota to change the joint City Council Minnehaha County Commission meeting time from 5:30 p.m. to 5:00 p.m. and from the third Monday of each month to the fourth Tuesday of each month.
Lori?
All right, as Tamara said, we'll be moving that to the fourth Tuesday, 5 p.m., and then as we just finished, followed by the Lincoln County meeting at 7 p.m. if needed. Any questions I can certainly answer.
Thank you. Folks, anybody want to speak to this item? Council.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 41.
Item 41 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Foss Fields addition.
This is the Foss Fields Development Company proposal to revise the lot layout and street layout based on the rezoning that the council has approved tonight. If we look at the aerial photo that I think Jeff can pull up there, when this area was originally proposed for development, there was discussions about 6th Street extending to the south and intersecting with Highline Avenue with a roundabout. And again, as I explained during the rezoning hearing, we've now considered that to be not the best solution for the traffic pattern, but you can actually see on this aerial photo some of the preliminary site work that was done to provide for that. With this revised plan now, Highline Avenue, which is along the west side of Menards, would extend directly north to 6th Street, and then 6th Street would connect directly east to Powderhouse Road. So this preliminary plan shows the lot layout, the streets, and also provides us with information on utilities and drainage. And this goes through city engineering review as well as the Planning Commission.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Karski.
One question.
Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
So, Mike, we aren't going to put a roundabout out there?
No, we are not.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who want to speak to this item? Very, very good. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. This passed 8-0. Item 42.
Item 42 is a resolution authorizing Sioux Falls Fire Rescue to gift a fire engine to the Fedora, South Dakota Fire Department.
Chief Sedaris, welcome.
Welcome. We'd like to give one of our trucks to the Fedora Fire Department. Fedora is a small town located west of Madison and just north of Mitchell. They need a truck. Our truck is long past its usefulness for us, and it would offer them the ability to have a fire truck to respond and then use their funding to buy other things that they need for their fire department.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve. Entenmann?
Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve.
Yeah.
Seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, Jim, I just have a question.
Sure.
Many times there are parades in small towns, and small towns really have nice fire trucks. Do they get a lot of this money from the feds, or?
I'm not sure if they combine their departments together or where they get their money. With the towns that we work with are just don't have
different.
the money.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 43.
Item number 43 is a report of the July 27th, 2012 Notice of Transfers of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Thank you. Council, any other new business tonight?
Move to adjourn, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
It's been a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting by Councilor Erpenbach, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Very good, Council. Thanks for your efforts tonight. And Sioux Falls, make it a great, great night.
Yeah.